It's a very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on the final day of the transfer window, or the final day here in the Premier League. And it's going to be either a very busy final day, or it's going to be a very boring and turgid final day because um, nothing is confirmed. There's an awful lot of stuff up in the air, and no one really knows exactly what is happening at this stage. What we do know is the stuff that we keep being told is that in order for West Ham United to get any further players in, we've got to sell, and or we've got to move players on. And the focus has sort of stayed on primarily for West Ham United players: Kurt Zouma, Naifa Gerd, Danny Ings, and Maxwell Cornet, with the added potential of James Ward-Prowse being thrown in. So it's going to be a very interesting day. I mean, there's a lot of stories that are still coming out at this moment in time, where we're told a number of players are potentially on their way out. So I'm going to bring you just an update. This is a morning update, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty more by the time I'm off air. So if you're new to the channel, by the way, good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice. And if you're new to the channel, if you like the content, then please do hit the like button. And please also consider becoming a subscriber of the channel, which is free of charge. As I always tell people, all my content is free. But before I do any of that, let's go and see if we've got anyone in the chat. Good morning to you, Montana. I'm here earlier than usual. That was sent at 2 o'clock this morning when I put the show up. So good morning to you. Good morning to you, usual. I hope you're well. Howard, hello, mate. I'm not going through till 11 o'clock. Absolutely. I'll get sacked if I did. Morning to you, Anthony. I hope you're well, mate. And good morning to you, Foxes. Anthony, I play the under-21s or the under-18s against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. No, I want us to win it, and I want us to win it handsomely. It's about time we actually won up there. Last time we won was in 2015 under Slaven Bilic, when we beat them 3-0. So I want us to go there. We owe them one. The draw, I did a show about that the other day. Disgusting, outrageous, so biased, but there you go. Usual, Howard. How are things? Everyone's saying good morning. Good morning to you, Phil. Usual. I think Liverpool have a Champions League game close to the corruption match against us, so hopefully they may put out a second 11. I don't care who they put out. We just want to go out there and beat them. That's simple as that. Good morning to you, Stan. I hope you're well. Good morning to you, Ray. Good morning to you, Green Street. Let's hope a Gerd gets gone with Cornet, Zouma, and Ward-Prowse. Tear up Ings' contract and get Soler plus a striker. Duran, good morning to you. Richard, how are you, mate? Good morning to you, Jack. An exciting day? Well, it could be one or the other, Jack. It could be a very exciting day, or it could be a very turgid, boring, slow day where rumour after rumour. I'm going to give you the latest rumours in just a moment. Good morning, Andy. I hope you're well. Don't go to bed. Some of us haven't been already, mate. Good morning to you, Lee. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Very well, mate. Good morning to you, Obsidian. And Jack again. If we move 3 or 4 players, that will be a good window, and maybe a couple of late incomings would be great. I see Forest, Ricky, are sniffing around Ward-Prowse this morning, so Sky are reporting. And James, let's see what we do against City. If we go for it, then I don't think the cup will be an issue against Liverpool. It's all about having the correct attitude. I totally agree. Right, let's jump into the stories, shall we? Because the first one is up until this morning, our understanding was Maxwell Cornet was going on loan to Southampton, but it seems that Crystal Palace are coming in trying to push for a loan bid for him. This is a loan. No one is buying Maxwell Cornet, and it's quite possible that if Maxwell Cornet goes, there'll be hardly any money on a loan payment, maybe a couple of million at best. But the important thing is obviously getting Maxwell Cornet's salary, about £70,000 a week, off our wage bill, which will be quite substantial. So that's the latest on that. Apparently, Crystal Palace are really pushing hard. Up until last night, really late last night, we thought it was a done deal where it was going to be Southampton winning the race for Maxwell Cornet, it's good. It's interesting because at least it shows that some other teams believe that this player still has something to offer. Regrettably, for one reason or another, David Moyes didn't see much in the player after he came back from his injury. And as it stands, Cornet has not made any subs bench in any of the games that we played so far. So Lopetegui probably thinks much the same as David Moyes did. So it looks like it could be that Maxwell Cornet is on his way out. Now, Kurt Zouma. Apparently, Kurt Zouma has passed his medical at Club Al Aroba. It's now apparently a done deal. It's just ironing out the contract details. And I guess we're going to just wait and see whether any of that will be an issue. How he's passed his medical, I don't know and almost don't care. But if he has, we wish him the best of luck. Look, you know, it's not a player's fault. I always say it's not the fault of a player that he gets injured. If you get injuries, you get injuries. It's one of those things. But it was clear, it was evident that he was never going to be good enough for the Premier League. That was evident last season. It was evident as well in pre-season as well. Now, I've got a special guest coming on. So all the way from Spain. Good morning, Sean.
Hey, you all right?
I'm good. You look very tanned. You look very tanned.
It's hot out here, man. It's really hot.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Well, it's not been too bad here in London either. So I don't know how good your connection's going to be. So we'll ask you questions whilst we've got you. I've just been updating people about Maxwell Cornet. Apparently, Crystal Palace are now in for him, and I've just been mentioning Kurt Zouma. Apparently, he's passed his medical. How he's managed to do that, I don't know. But hey, sorry, go on.
Well, I think passed his medical is a little bit. I've been told he completed his medical rather than passed.
Okay.
So
is
obviously he did bring up things. No,
is that
he's going to go over the line. No, he's going to go. We're going to pay a percentage of his wages. We get no money, so it's just he's off the. You know, it's a loan. He's still our employee, but he becomes a free agent in the summer.
So you mentioned the other day it could be up to 50%, and then I think there were stories saying that a small percentage of his wages.
It's somewhere in between. This is the bit they've been trying to sort out. Club are staying tight-lipped exactly what the percentage is, but I'm sure we'll find out afterwards after the deal is done.
Okay, but the fact is we are paying some of his wages.
Yes, and we get no money, no loan fee.
So
I think Cornet will definitely go. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, Cornet. I mean, Southampton or Crystal Palace apparently are coming.
I think he'll go to Southampton. You know, they're going to pay his wages. There's going to be a £1 million bonus if they survive Premier League the season, and there'll be an option to buy. So
not an obligation.
Well, I think, again, the finer details are still being worked out. Of course, we'd go for obligation if we could, because we don't think he's got a future, but that might spoil the deal. So option to buy, you know, because of his past injuries, might be the only way to get the deal over the line.
Okay. Then move on to Naif Aguerd. Now, there's anything up to about 5 teams apparently interested in him. And Malaysia is Fiorentina.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no, I don't believe it's true, Sean. I don't believe it's true.
His agent is based in Dubai. His agent wants him to go to Saudi. We've got an offer on the table, 4.2 million loan fee, plus £21 million obligation to buy. That's the one the club want to do. That's the one that makes sense. The big thing is, will his agent persuade him to go to Saudi?
So I'm guessing the player himself doesn't want to go there.
I think he's reluctant. I think he thinks he's a big team player, and I don't want to be unfair to him, but he seems to think he's better than any of the clubs that have offered him a way out of West Ham.
Yeah, I think that's what I've gathered as well. But the interesting thing with this, Sean, is this generates a bit of cash, doesn't it? In order for us to
Well,
jump into
only
the
a small
market.
amount. I've told you the quote from my source. We're
Yes, I saw
spent
that this
out, and
morning.
that doesn't just mean in transfer fees. That means in wages. We're spent out. We are really spent out, and you
But
know,
but Sean, if we
Zuma doesn't
manage
really
to,
do anything for us.
but if we manage to move on Zuma, Cornet, and a Gerd, that's about £240,000 a week in savings in
Yes,
wages. Yeah.
yeah. I think we'll see. So if we get 3, I think we'll see it. 2, 50-50 chance, but 1, nothing. 2, small chance. Well, 50-50 chance. 3, I think we'll see Carlos come in from PSG.
Only Carlos Soler, would that be it?
I think so, unless they've got a crafty little centre back gamble up their sleeve as a loan. I don't know.
Yeah, this is my theory, because if both Zuma and Agerd go, we'll have 3 centre backs. But given that Lopetegui wants two players for each area, it must mean that there's a centre back maybe in the offing, which we don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not close enough to the under-21s on whether one of them can step up or not.
Yeah, Kalen Casey is a possibility that I mentioned the other day, but
Yeah.
Danny Ings.
We're snapping anyone's hands off that even sniffs at him today. If we've offered 50% of his wages to any club that will take him.
Would we, if we can't get rid of him, do what has been suggested and tear up his contract?
Well, there would have to be a deal, right? So if we're going to rip up his contract today, there's no point in paying 100% of his wages. So we'd have to pay him off. So that's the way it works. You pay somewhere between 50 and 70% of the remaining wages. But I don't think we're there yet. We see how it goes. I hope someone takes him on loan. I'm not sure. I think it's too late for a permanent deal. The flavour seems to be that people want to do loans these days, certainly on deadline day, to minimise the risk.
And I guess then, Sean, if we're not getting any money for any of these players, for small loan fees for Cornet, Ings, if he goes, Agerd, etc., does that mean if we want to generate funds and if we want to go back into the market, does that mean James Ward-Prowse might be going?
Yeah. So obviously Nottingham Forest and Southampton have showed interest. This is the resolve, isn't it, today, whether we will release James Ward-Prowse. It's a big if. We don't really know. I said they will test the Hammers resolve, and maybe they will. We'll look. I'm not convinced they will. But who knows?
Either club, either Southampton or Forest.
As the senior source says, never say never. Catchphrase, never say never. Look, I manage expectations. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting transfer deadline day. But, look, we've had a good deal. We've had a good, we brought in 9 players. Lots of people said, oh, Bowen will be sold, Kudos will be sold. Neither of them have been sold, and they're not going to be sold today, by the way. So let's rejoice in, West Ham fans always want more. Let's rejoice in the 9 players we did sign. Let's rejoice in the players we didn't sell. Kudos, Bowen are still West Ham players. Even I think Areola was a linked away. None of these
right, earlier in the
players have left us, and Alvarez, of course, as well, being linked strongly. Who won't go today? Let's be clear. We're not going to suddenly go, oh, Kudos is sold on transfer deadline day. Ain't gonna happen.
And that was said right at the start, wasn't it? When Tim Steid and Lopetegui did their first interview, they both said we're not obliged to sell, and clearly they meant our big players. But obviously, like any club, you do try and get rid of the players that aren't going to be part of the setup. Yeah. Okay.
You're keeping me from my breakfast, by the way.
Well, no, you go ahead and have your croissant. I thought you were on a diet, but never mind.
I am,
Thank you,
but this
Sean.
is my one meal of
When,
the day,
when are
and
you
it's my
back?
last day in Spain. I'll be
Oh,
at the
right.
game on.
Okay.
I'm flying tonight, so
So,
I'll be
so
at the
you'll be
game
there for the
tomorrow
Man City game.
for City. I
Cool.
will, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure I'll
Might be
see you about
bringing
tomorrow.
maybe a player from Seville or Malaga as well on the plane with me.
Yeah, you make sure you get him on your private jet.
You never know. Yeah. All
Cheers,
right.
Sean.
See you,
All
Steph. Have
right.
a good one, mate.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
So there you have it. Let's just go back in and just update you again from the latest. So from what Sean has said, even though apparently Palace are looking at maybe sniffing around Maxwell Cornet, it looks as if the loan deal to Southampton is more than likely going to happen. So look out for that. But as he suggested, this will be a loan with an option to buy. So no obligation, and it won't generate much income for us. There may be a small loan fee of about £1 million. With regards to Kurt Zuma, well, I guess it's not quite accurate to say he passed his medical. He's taken his medical, and now the small print of the contract is being finalised, and we're going to pay off some of his money, some of his wages, sorry, in order for the player to move. And that's where that's at the moment. Now, of course, the Saudi transfer window is open later, which kind of like, I guess it suits Zuma. The deal doesn't have to be done by 11 o'clock tonight, but it means that if he goes and if Naifa Gerd goes and our window is closed, it means we can't get anybody in to replace him. And a Gerd, well, as Sean has just said, you know, there's all these clubs apparently interested. Real Sociedad, Al Ittihad, Porto, Villarreal, etc. And the latest is Fiorentina. And all of these clubs are looking at a loan to buy deal. And the one on the table, as Sean has said at the moment, is the Al Ittihad Saudi club with a £4 million loan deal with an obligation to buy for about another £17 million. And that's the one that's on the table. But it depends on whether the player himself is actually interested in going. I said this, and Sean has just corroborated it. The player thinks he's a bigger player than some of the clubs that have come in for him, and he believes he should be going to a much bigger club. So let's see what happens. It's quite possible a Gerd may not leave before the end of this transfer window. But of course, you know, if he goes to Al Ittihad, like I've just said about Kurt Zuma, the Saudi transfer window is open later. So we see what happens there. At this moment in time, there are no clubs clearly in for Danny Ings. There was the offer earlier in the transfer window of Southampton coming in for Ings, but he turned that offer down, even though we were going to offer him to subsidise his wages so he wouldn't miss out. So at this moment in time, there's no one in for Danny Ings, and he could be another player that could stay at West Ham. And then in order to generate funds, because of players like Cornet, Ings, Gerd, and Zuma all being on loan deals with very little money coming in, yes, we will save quite substantial amounts of money on wages. But if we want to generate income, then the player at this moment in time that could possibly be sold is James Ward-Prowse, with Southampton and Nottingham Forest sniffing around. And if we want to generate income in order to buy another player, then he could be the player that could be sold on today's deadline day. Now, how about some players coming the other way? Well, I'm sure you've heard we're apparently interested for Giovanni Lo Celso from Spurs. Clearly, that is a nonsense rumor, as we've become accustomed to during the transfer window. Given our bad relationship with Spurs, that's the first one, mind you, our bad relationship. They may want to sell us a player who's been off form and injured throughout his career at Spurs. 28 years of age midfielder, is in his final year of his contract, and has been told by Postecoglou that he's not part of his plans. Look, you know, if Spurs want to do one on us, this is the sort of player that we would have bought in the past. But don't believe the rumours. That is not true by any stretch of the imagination. Now, Carlos Soler is really the only one on the table at the moment. And If we want to generate the funds now, look, it could be a loan to buy, but my gut tells me that we could be in, if we do manage to sell James Ward-Prowse, it won't be to generate income for the purchase of Carlos Soler. Sorry, I take that back. If we do generate income from James Ward-Prowse, this will be to generate income for the purchase of Carlos Soler. You know, rather than loaning him, we may decide to buy him, which may mean that we could do a last-minute deal on getting a striker in. But that striker is really all dependent on whether Danny Ings goes or not. So it was Romano who suggested this. He put wild speculation out there that it may not be Carlos Soler we go for. It may be a striker instead. I think the Soler deal is on. We've got to generate the funds to get him. If we don't generate the funds, it'll be a loan to buy, loan with an obligation to buy deal. Now, what about strikers? Well, we keep being linked, even right up to today, we keep being linked to Tammy Abraham. But my understanding is AC Milan are in for him, and he's meant to be having his medical with them today. And of course, people are still saying there's a possibility of getting in John Duran last minute deal. And this is what I'm thinking. If we generate enough money, we bring Carlos Soler in, can only have 2 players on loan anyway. We've got Todibo in on loan as it is. Bring Carlos Soler in on a permanent, and then possibly go in for John Duran. Now, why is this coming up again? Well, rumor is this morning is that Aston Villa are still looking for an alternative striker to purchase, even at this 11th hour. So if they do, then John Duran deal could possibly still happen. It will be interesting to see what happens here. It could be this could be a transfer window where there's a lot going on, or it could be a damp squib. Now, whilst I'm on, I'm going to give you some updates on some injury news, because we've got the Man City game coming up. Edson Alvarez, as we know, is now not going anywhere. He's going to be a West Ham player throughout this season. And he had his first, start against Bournemouth during the week. And it's been suggested that he might not make the game against Manchester City. My understanding is he was taken off purely as a precaution because we're easing him back in, and he should be fine for the Man City game. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually starts in that game. Crescencio Somerville got a slight knock. He was limping as he came off in the game against Bournemouth. But again, that knock is not going to be too impactful, and he should also be available. Whether he starts or not, I don't think so. I think we may see Somerville on the bench. Todibo, not fully match fit. He got a lot of criticism against Bournemouth, but I could see that he's not fully match fit. I actually praised him for the first 20 odd minutes that I saw. He was taken off at halftime purely because he needs to get up to match fitness. But again, he should be on the bench on Saturday as well. Nicholas Füllkrug was also taken off, precautionary. Now, there's a suggestion that we've got a striker who's picked up an injury. And some people are suggesting that it was Füllkrug that picked up an injury during the Bournemouth game. I don't think that's the case. I think he is okay. And he should also, I don't know whether he'll start the game. I've got a feeling that it'll be Antonio that will be starting the game at the weekend. And then Aaron Cresswell, as we know, he was the last minute change. He was meant to be starting against Bournemouth, but he has picked up a hamstring injury. He's having a scan today in order to determine how serious that is. And it's quite possible that he may miss several games coming up. Look, he wouldn't have started in the game against Manchester City, but it means that we're now a little bit light on the left-hand side. If we get an injury with Emerson, that could be quite difficult for us. But we saw Aaron Wan-Bissaka did extremely well when he came in on the left-hand side. But, square pegs in round holes. Right, let's see what else we've got in the chat. And then for those of you who are new, or those of you who have joined us late, welcome to the channel. And if you've yet to become a subscriber, please do subscribe. Costs nothing to do so. Let's have a look at your comments, and then we'll go back in and do a refresher of all the news updates on transfers. Good morning to you, mate. Philip, I hope you're well. Not expecting any big surprises. Good morning to you, DeCanio. If a Gerd won't move, banish him from the first team training. It's ridiculous. He won't move. If he's waiting, well, this is what I said, and Sean has just confirmed this, that it looks like he thinks he's going to a much bigger club than the clubs that have come in for him. James, let's hope there is an obligation on Cornet. It seems not. Sean has confirmed that it will be an option rather than an obligation. Good morning, Anton. How are you? Go to bed. Some of us, mate, have got, I hope you're well. Do you want to come on? Let me know. Message me and I'll bring you on. Have a chinwag if you want. James, good morning. Alaroba is ironing out the contract and the dents in Kurt's knees. Good morning to you, Glenn. His fault he hurts a small animal, foxtrot. Oscar. Gimbo, good morning to you. Lee, to Anton, and good morning, Lee. I hope you're well. Obsidian, he walked into the doctor without a Zimmer and they said, you'll do. Richard, so 128 people currently. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated, Richard. I do appreciate that. Jack, what's the latest on the potential 3-player transfers to Southampton? I hope I've given you that update, but I will give you a refresher in a moment. Hang on 1 second. Bear with me. Okay, go on then. Right. Look, against my better judgment. Oh, hang on. I'm giving him his old one. Bear with me 1 second, people. Let's do that. Let's do that. I'm bringing a guest on. He's not special. Well, maybe a special case. But there you go. There you go. Come on, then. He's going to ruin the show. But you know what? Fair's fair. I did go on his channel recently, so it's only fair. Gary, looks like Benny Dorm. I don't know where he is. I think he was in Marbella, I think he said. Good morning to you, Finn. How are you? Senior source given transfer permission to appear on YouTube. Howard, lost your voice on Wednesday night. I hope you're better now. Good morning to you, Danny boy. How are you? Brady out. Oh, there he is. Agent Anton. Agent Anton. God, I don't know what sort of agent he is. Go on then.
Hello, mate. I'm at the hotel in Canary Wharf and I've just seen Craig Bellamy walk by me.
Was he standing next to Marco Boogers?
Yes, and they were picking up in the taxi. Messi has flown in with Suarez from Miami. So,
you mean they were Messi? They didn't pick up Messi?
Yeah. So don't go to bed. Good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, this transfer window, I don't know what you've made of it, but it's just been, yet another... If you remember how it started with, oh my God, we're making no signings. Then we had a massive influx and it was, oh my God, look how great we're doing. And now it's back to, oh my God, we're not doing any business.
But that's just life of a West Ham fan. Our expectations are all over the place, I think, isn't it? It's like you go back to being a younger West Ham fan and the media, us doing what we do has made it worse, I suppose, in theory.
In a way, we're guilty.
No, I don't even mean it like that. I just mean it because the chase for news, you just can't help yourself, and then it becomes that addiction to find something. Not even trying to be exclusive, it's just the chase for news, and everyone, it seems to be more common. I think I said to you years ago, when I was growing up, before any of this, it was a magazine that you would get transfer rumors on, and then the next thing you get transfer rumors on was teletext, and then the next thing was the internet then suddenly came around, and then there was Team Talk where you'd phone the premium rate number, and now this. Do you know what I mean? It's it's wild.
And this is now information overkill, isn't it? Because we, but you're right, because we're so hungry for information, we almost, I think we found ourselves almost wanting to believe almost every story that's out there. It's and I think this is where it's gone a bit awry, isn't it? Because we read a story and we just and especially when it comes from the ITKs and we want to believe that it's true, and we won't. And I think we've been there, sort of reading it, and we get excited, don't we? Oh my God, we're going to get so and so, and then all of a sudden you hear that this player has gone elsewhere, and you think, why didn't we get him? It's when there was probably no truth in the rumor in the first place.
Well, we've done that over the last couple of years, from obviously doing the channels and stuff together. We've believed so many stories, but I think when you do it for so long, God, when you do it for so long, you start to realize sometimes these deals are as simple as going, it's 2 + 2 is 4. Sometimes you can actually work it out even before it happens. So that's why when you mentioned it, and I spoke about it this morning, the Lo Celso deal from Spurs, the first thing I thought of was, we don't communicate as clubs. So why are we suddenly going to communicate for Lo Celso? That's how I think. And I'm thinking, so for me, I eradicated the transfer rumor. I did do the story, but I eradicated it. I said, this is the player. This is possibly why Lopetegui would like him, but I don't think we would get him. I don't think we would go for him because I don't think we'd negotiate with Spurs. So I just thought, all that sort of stuff.
Unless, of course, Spurs want to do a dirty on us and give us a player that's been injury and out of form. He's and injuries and out of form. They're going, hey, West Ham, let's do a deal.
Absolutely. But I think it also opens up a can of worms if we start going down that route, because I think there's a reason why we kind of stopped working with Spurs over deals. And I just think that would open up a big can of worms that West Ham don't really want to do.
I agree.
And Spurs probably don't want to do either.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about any particular player that we may either get or sell? Have you got anyone in your head? Obviously, there's Cornet. There's
absolutely.
Zuma.
I've enjoyed this transfer window for a various amount of reasons, and you probably have enjoyed it for the exact same reasons, which is not many people have nailed it on the head with regards to all of the deals.
No. Yeah,
and that's really been quite clear, and I've in a sneaky way kind of enjoyed that. So the one I'll never forget it, and I slagged myself off for it. The night before we signed Somerville, the story came out saying we'd moved away from Somerville.
Yeah,
and then the same with Todibo. It kind of all just kind of quickly moved, And then I suddenly started playing conspiracy theories, thinking we were going to sign Fofana. And that didn't work out, just trying to be the conspiracy theorist. But I do think something's going to happen today on the basis of, I've listened to your show, so obviously Cornet going frees up wages. You listen, Sean's really clever. Sean's really clever at how he words things. He never commits.
No.
He's your typical politician, isn't he? And so it's like, he says, possibly go to bed. He won't say, go to bed.
No.
On his information, but listen, when it comes to Cornet, it makes sense. Am I disappointed? I would have been a year ago. I'm not anymore. It's for me, it's done. It's not going to be repaired. I think his chance came when he came back into fitness, and Moyes just didn't give him a run out. And there was opportunities for him to get a run out. He played a confidence game, didn't he? I can't remember who it was against, and did he not set up the goal? The assist.
He scored a goal. He played against Sheffield United and he scored. And he came on for another game. I can't remember what it was.
A conference game, and he crossed the ball in, and it went in. And if you, again, just thinking back to when he first came to West Ham, honestly, if that goal had gone in against Chelsea and should have been given, I think his career would have
gone a different direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just a bit like, it's a shame he's never really been given a run, but it makes financial sense for West Ham to send him out.
What do you think in terms of players coming in? I mean, it seems like if we're going to do any business, it's only going to be Soler.
Well, that's what we think.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, right? Let's fabricate it slightly. If Cornet, James Ward-Prowse, Danny Ings, if 3 or 4 head out the door, I can't see West Ham not doing more than.
This is exactly my thought, but the problem is all these players are going out. Maybe apart from James Ward-Prowse, all these other players are going out on loan, which means it's not generating income. And we can only get 2 loan players in a season, can't we? So we've got Todibo already.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. This is what I can't work out. We could potentially let 4 players go today if you include Zuma. And are we really only going to get Soler in? Which is why I was trying to explain earlier that maybe we actually go out and buy Soler in order to loan another player in. And my gut tells me it could be a striker. But then if both Zuma and Agerd go, we need another centre back.
Yeah,
in order to make up,
And I heard what you were saying as well. I mean, I'm more positive on Casey, for example. But
Caden Casey, yeah.
yeah, but Russ isn't, and I have to go by Russ's opinion because now he, I don't know if you know this still, but he does all the under-21 games now.
Oh, right. Okay. Uh-huh.
And has been for the last year and a half. So he's been really watching him. So Russ. I'm not saying I believe everything Russ says. I'm not just saying it. I'm just going by what he was saying at games.
By his opinion, yeah.
Yeah. So Russ gave up on Mubama about 8 months before Mubama officially left the club because he saw him and he saw his attitude. And he wasn't saying it was a stinking attitude. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't there for the games.
Yeah.
And he's saying that Casey, he's unsure about Casey, but Casey absolutely needs a loan. Absolutely needs to get out on loan to somewhere like League One. And that, again, I'm only basing it upon that. I only see the highlights of him. If there's a game online, I'll try and watch it. I think, oh yeah, he's a bit of an all right, but I don't see all of the games.
He doesn't stand out. I've watched a couple of their under-21 games, and he's good.
Yeah,
but he doesn't stand out, and especially like the last game when we saw Joshua Ajala, the 17-year-old striker, who was superb. You know, and you can tell straight away a young player. So I get what Russ is saying, and like Lewis Orford, for example, also stood out. But Casey is solid. But
needs a bit of
experience. Wonder how he'll do in against grown men.
That's what makes me think that if we are looking at offloading, because my jury's out on Dinos. Dinos is, with all due respect, my new Ogbonna.
That means he's good.
Well, yeah, but do you know what? I actually had to do a video recently for a Watford fan, and I was really open and honest, and I said I judged them from the start. I think I was right to judge him because I don't think he had a good start to his career at West Ham. But like a fine wine, he got better.
He did.
I can't deny that. He did. So he did.
Yeah.
And I hope Konstantinos can do that. And someone told me I can pronounce his name better than you as well.
Sorry?
Someone told me I can
pronounce his name better than me?
Yeah.
Oh, Scott saying that. That's insulting.
Konstantinos Mavropanos.
Well, yeah, that sounds like Russian. It doesn't sound Greek.
No, it does. It does, actually. It does.
I get what you're saying, to be honest with you, because I think Mavropanos has improved by having Kilman next to him. I think that's given him the confidence, because you look at last season when it was either a Gerd or it was Zuma. Let's be really honest. The best defender in the world is going to struggle, especially with Zuma next to you when the player can't run. I still think Mavropanos has still got errors in him, but he seems to be getting more confident, and I think Kilman is helping there. In all honesty, as well, I think when Todibo is fit,
and I heard what you said, and I completely agree with you. The first 20 minutes, I thought he was solid. He looked really good. He was taking on players. He looked really confident. He played one heavy pass. And I think it could be questioned whether or not Souček or Ward, I can't remember who it was going to. It was either Souček or Ward-Prowse. And it led to quite a dangerous attack from Bournemouth. And it was a Todibo pass. And that shook his confidence a little bit, but not too much. He still did all right and was okay. He looks the business. I'm actually totally fine. And I think when he comes in, he will be beside Kilman I think that. Quite obviously. I think Mavropanos is good. I think he's definitely a good backup option. I am concerned. I'm not going to lie to you still. Mavropanos cannot play for West Ham against Man City.
Well, it's going to be him because Todibo is not fit.
I know. And really, if Sufal, which I don't think it will be, Mavropanos start, then it doesn't matter what you've got going forward, because that is if you watch the minute Todibo, if Todibo goes off, mate, the minute that Mavropanos came on, Bournemouth, they brought on a player called Eva Nielsen.
Yes, their new number 9. Yeah,
he went for Mavropanos. His first 4 attacks, he went through Mavropanos like nothing.
Yeah,
and I was like,
no, I agree. Look, I actually think Emerson and Wan-Bissaka will start with Mavropanos and Kilman in the middle, and obviously Wan-Bissaka. We love Sufal because we know he plays with his heart on his sleeve, but we know that Wan-Bissaka looks different level.
He looks quality. He really does.
Yeah.
He's turned out to be, from the first couple of appearances, bloody brilliant. And You know, even when you listen to all the pundits and all the big, well-known people online, in the media world, they were all saying pound for pound, the best defensive fullback you've got. The biggest issue was going forward. I've not seen any negative of him going forward.
No, neither have I. And the irony is that we've been told that apparently he started his career as a winger.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, if you've started your career as a winger, you're not. I mean, how shit must you be in order to be? I don't get that, because maybe if we compare him to Soufal, interestingly, when he came to us, was not well known for going forward, and yet he was one of our biggest assists. He 7 goals assisted last season. I don't know. I don't get where this rumor has come from, and I won't lie, I fell for that as well, and I kept saying myself, "Oh well, you know, he's not great going forward, but he'll be a solid right back." But I agree with you. He went darting down. Even on the left side on Wednesday night, he was the best
player, and he played in his wrong position. I mean, it's like what, and what's interesting is, you know, something else I want to bring up is, you know, not everyone on your chat or wherever we watch it from, but there is a fickle fan base that just forgets sometimes the good that some of these players have done. So Vladimir Soufal and Tommy Soucek came in at the right time for West Ham to propel West Ham to where we needed, because they were positions we desperately needed. So just because they've had a bit of a run of bad form or aren't playing great doesn't mean we need to terrorize the two players and wish them upon, you know, because equally, if they stay with West Ham as squad players, look at our squad depth from last year to this year.
Exactly. And I've said much the same for Soucek, and I know there's a lot of fans that don't like Soucek anymore. And I suggested that maybe the reason why Soucek is getting a lot of stick is because it reminds a lot of fans of David Moyes. You know, Moyes never dropped him, didn't matter what form he was in, etc. And I ended up calling him, he's never going to have the flair that Paqueta has got. And I did a stats comparison between Paqueta, Ward-Prowse, and Soucek. Ward-Prowse came out on top.
Oh yeah.
Soucek came out second. Paqueta came out last. But we forgive Paqueta because of his flair, because of his skill, you know. And I've called him he's a disruptor. You know, he's not a flair player, but he's done a job for West Ham United, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And I think I always go back to, there was an interview that Declan Rice and Paqueta did. I don't know if it was the semi-final, Alkmaar. It was something like that. It was something in around that period just before we won the trophy, and they were like in awe of Tommy Soucek at the time. And basically what they were, they never said it, but they were basically saying we couldn't do what we do if he didn't do what he does. But when you look at his stats, he touches the ball 36 times in the game. His pass completion rate's quite low, not as high as nowhere near as other players, but it's where he does his interceptions. It's where he does his little bits of break-up play. Listen, I'm not saying I want Tommy Soucek to start. As much as I'm saying that, against Crystal Palace, I think I said 5 minutes before he scored, Tommy Soucek needs to come off. And then he popped up and scored a goal.
And then he pops up and scores. Yeah.
So it's just,
I mean, it will be different, and it will be a different option, because if we bring in Carlos Soler, which I believe, if there's any deal to be done today, it's going to be Soler. He will give us a completely different perspective. And ironically, I don't think it will be so much Soucek's. But look, I think what Lopetegui will do when all the players are fit, match fit, is he'll have options and he'll play different players according to need. And I think Soucek will become part of that. And I think Paqueta will also potentially become part of that, because Soler will be the alternative, wouldn't he, to more Paqueta than Soler?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Paqueta's just, I mean, for me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet and should always be while he's still playing. I think, for me, I'm just a massive Paqueta fan. I think what he does on the park, the dynamics that he does in terms of his defensive duties, the ground he covers. I know people get frustrated that sometimes he gives the ball away, but when you've got your creative player giving the ball away, that's kind of normal. That is the most normal thing for a creative player to do.
But yet we forgive him, but we don't forgive Soucek from doing it.
Yeah,
you know.
In terms of players coming, you've said there in terms of players coming in. Yeah, I think Carlos Soler is probably the most obvious one. I don't doubt for any seconds in my life that Tim Steidten he's not got his feet up, chilling out, thinking this is all done. He is
No.
working like a maniac today, probably more than ever. And we know that.
Yeah.
And I would love nothing more than him to just appear up out of the blue and have a couple of cheeky players coming in and a couple of cheeky players going out. And I think they'll have, listen, I don't think this is not a possibility. I think this could be a possibility, whether it's now or in another window. It's quite clear that he wanted to come to West Ham.
Yeah.
It's quite clear that Aston Villa probably aren't going to get the money that they want for him, but they need money in order to invest where they want to invest.
Well, this is it, because the rumor this morning is that they're apparently it's not been a player that's been named, but apparently they're looking at a striker, a last-minute deal for a striker. But we've got to not forget, you're absolutely right, Anton, we've got to not forget, and it's a question I forgot to ask Sean, we've still got January to still do business. We can get from now till January with the squad that we've got.
Absolutely.
And there's still January to iron out business, and maybe I think what would be interesting is, for the next few months is see how our strike force does, see how much game time Danny Ings gets if he doesn't go, and then maybe that might give Danny Ings the push in January to go, okay, I'm on my way, and maybe go to a championship club or whatever. And then we've still got that time in January to go out and get ourselves a striker for the second half of the season, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the Bournemouth game for Füllkrug was always going to be a tough game because he had Souček and James Ward-Prowse as your without being disrespectful to them, they didn't show for the ball much. No. And when they did, the ball didn't go forward a lot. And you clock Füllkrug doing what we usually do with our strikers, which is drop them so deep that they're playing as a bloody defender.
Or trying to get him to go out wide, which is not his game.
Yeah. But the minute that you brought Kudus and Paquetá on, then I think we got Füllkrug off the park at that point. And at that point, I was like, all right, come on. But it's a League Cup.
A Moyes move, that was.
Yeah. Sorry, I need to call it the Corrupt Cup. That's what I'm calling it from now on.
Oh, mate. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous what they've done. Yeah. Absolutely outrageous.
It's actually,
why
why
bother?
It's so disgusting that I would love nothing more than West Ham to walk away from the tournament. I would love nothing more. Genuinely, if they won it, I'd be happy. But
I tell you what I'd love: the 5 teams that have been given a grace to play at home. I'd love every team that's against them to smack them, and put them all out. Yeah. Put them all out. Yeah. Because it's disgusting.
It's ramming home everything that your old school fan who's walked away from football has been saying for years, and we are probably the mugs that have turned around and gone, it's pissed us off, but we'll still support it. And that's the one that's really got me. That should be as powerful as when those clubs tried to break away for the European League.
Yeah, for the Super League.
The Super League. I couldn't believe it when I was watching the show. I'd done the draw, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was live, and I was like, "What the actual fuck? Like what? Like what did they do?"
They didn't do the draw of who's playing at home and away, did they? Live, or did they do that as well?
No, that was done earlier.
They done in that behind the effing scenes.
Yeah, so 4 out of the 6 clubs, 4 of those 6 clubs, they didn't know who, but the first 4 of those clubs pulled out of the hat would have got a home tie.
That's disgusting. It's just
and can't
so
get
wrong.
Each other
in every level.
Get each other. It's mental. It's actually mental.
So, oh well.
It is what it is, isn't it?
Oh well. Well, it's either going to be a very interesting day or it's going to be a very boring day. And this is why I decided to do the show this morning, because we might do our business by midday and that might be it.
Yeah.
Are you guys on later?
Yeah, I think we're going to do a few shows through the day, and then I think we're going to go live. So if you're around, you're more than welcome to come on. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, listen, it's going to be talking about everything. I think it's going to be a busy day in football world. I think we could be done early, but I mean, it's 10 to 10. So there's potential for 4 or 5 players heading out the door and a potential for a couple of players coming in. So I think that could go to the wire.
It could do.
But it might be, like you said, it could be a damp squid. No problem at all. It could be. So we'll have to wait and see.
We'll see.
But there's another player there like Chalobah. I mean, he wants out of Chelsea.
Well, I've been talking about Chalobah for ages, and I just wonder if a Gerd goes. I think this rests on a Gerd. If a Gerd goes, I can see us going in for Chalobah. I mean, I know he's right-footed and Agüero be left, but it almost doesn't matter with central defenders. Most of them seem to be able to play one side, both sides. Obviously, you've got a stronger preference, but Chalobah also good cover as right back, as well. So, and he is out in the cold, completely out in the cold.
Yeah,
So
you know what? I'm just disappointed at how the Agüero things worked out, because I had a lot of hope and promise for him, and now that Moyes is gone, you realise that the reason why Agüero didn't work was because he's just not a low block defender, and he's never really been given that chance. And simply, he looks happy, but behind the scenes, it sounds like he wants to go. And
it's
with all due respect,
to be honest with you, because he was one of the first players that when Lopetegui came in, he was one of the first players. I think most of us said Agüero will fit Lopetegui's system. Straight away.
But maybe he was already done by that point.
I think if you look at what happened last season when he was clearly available but not available, I think he shot himself in the foot, and I think it was his attitude that has caught up with him. Yeah. And now, even though we most of us think that he's good enough to play under Lopetegui, I think the attitude has I think the club have gone. Forget about it, mate.
It must be really clear that his attitude must be where it is at, because there's definitely a player there, a player that's not been playing, that's people are trying to sign. Lots of clubs are trying to sign. Means that they know there's a player there.
Exactly.
But we obviously have something behind the scenes that we're not happy with, which, like you said, is probably his attitude. So
it's a shame. It's a shame.
It is.
Oh well, mate. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. Nice little surprise. Surprise you're up this. Mind you, you've got kids.
Got 3 kids, mate.
Really.
Surprised I'm up this early. I'm surprised you're bloody doing anything.
I'm surprised I'm up this early, to be honest with you, and I've got to get to work soon as well. So,
right. Well,
but cheers. I'll keep in touch later on in the day.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, mate.
Bye.
Well, that was a nice little Brucey bonus. So let's go into your chat. Howard, my daughter and I had a really good walk, about 15 miles, lunch in Covent Garden. Great fans. Didn't meet Stel. Such a shame, Howard. But there's always another time. Woodsey. If he's prone to mistakes with us, why would Barcelona want to buy him? I guess you're talking about a Gerd there. Let's scroll down. Is Sean using Scarfman Air Miles? Anthony, why can't Sullivan put his hand in his pocket and pay the money for Soler? Because we are bound, just like every club, with rules. We have spent a lot of money. And we've got to be careful about what we're spending. Andy, makes you wonder why we paid so much for the Brazilian lad, who by all accounts is not ready. That's a really good point, Andy. Tony, Anthony, because of FFP. Woodsy, no Di Canio. I'm very happy, funny guy. You chat to each other and I'll carry on. Good morning to you, Aaron. Can't get a bigger club than West Ham. We're absolutely massive. We are indeed. Let's scroll down. And Paul, there was talk of Leeds wanting Ings on a season-long loan to finish his contract. That finishes his contract. Apparently, well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Ings. He's one of the of all the players that we've got, and I'll go through them again in a moment. Of all the players we've got potentially leaving, that he's the one that looks most doubtful. Woodsy, never understood why West Ham paid so much for a paceless German when another 13 mil would have bought Duran. I say give him time. He's never going. We never bought him for pace. We bought him for a different style of football. But as Anton said, he needs to be fed the ball. He needs to have the right players around him. Gaz, good morning to you. Only just joined still. Would have moved. Have we moved anyone else on today? Not yet, mate. Not yet. Glenn? Kurt Zuma's cat Slappy is looking for an out. He wants everyone to know his knees are still fine. Gaz, Peter, do you think that it's why people are not coming in for the likes of Ings? Because they know he'll be available and free after the window closes. Just pay him off. It's quite possible that we might pay him off. Let's scroll down. Let's get a few more comments in to try and catch up. Ray, I think Cornet will go to Palace. They're interested in last January. From what Sean has said, it looks more likely that it's going to be Southampton, but let's see what happens there. Hakim, good morning to you. I hope just to get a deal done for Carlos Soler. I think we all want that. Robert Al Ali agree a fee for Brentford of 40 million for Ivan Toney. Well. Kerry, we need more interaction between West Ham channels on deadline day. It's better than listening hours of Sky Sports. Good point. Thank you for that, Kerry. And who knows, I might either do a show, but then we all do shows. And does that help you guys? You know, so I might go on the West Ham network later. Sasha, our fans are just bored. How on earth can people expect us to sign anyone else this window? Dan, we've done our business, haven't we? Dan Hammer, I'm behind on the stream, but wow, 2 own goal OGs back on screen. Thank you. Old Gits, I think that's OG means Dan Hammer. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Matthew. Sojek definitely has a role to play in some parts of some games. Naive to think otherwise. Different plans for different problems. Exactly that. Robert, if we bring Chalobah, gonna make this a night to remember. Boom, boom. Green Street Greg. I agree. Chalobah, great option. Can play left and right as well. Deal to be done with Chelsea. Got to get rid. Buy Soler, Chalobah loan, or other way around. Good point. Good point. Yeah. Michael, if we get a half decent fee for a Gerd, then Chalobah is distinct possibility. It's all ifs and buts today. It absolutely is, Peter. Don't forget you have those late deals that can get completed about 24 hours after the window closes. If they show real interest, you've got to register it. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, don't disagree with that. That is possible. Matthew, Fiorentina, a Gerd rumour on X this morning. Yes, covered that. I'm going to go through all the players again. I'll do a fresh update. Good morning to you, Sean. I hope you're well. Shaky, keeper Gerds on the bench. No game time. He'll be kicking and screaming come January. Danny boy, he don't say he ain't going. He just says he don't want to go to Chelsea. Who doesn't want to go to Chelsea? Would that be Tony? That's our jobs. Good morning to you guys. I hope you're well. Live from 9:30 tonight. We'd love to get you on the show tonight. So send me a message. Send me a message on. Hang on a minute. Let me give you my email. Where's my email address when you need it? There you go. Send me a message on westhamvoice@gmail.com, mate. And I'll be glad to come on. So do that. westhamvoice@gmail.com. Now, let's go back. Who else we got? BRX, good morning to you. We must have a solid midfield and a striker that can run. I agree. But at the moment, it's only Antonio who's the striker that can run. Good morning to you, Nick. You absolute loon. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining and thank you for that £2. Stop spending your money on me, mate. I'm grateful, but don't. Agerd played pre-season and was at fault for 2 goals. He can't defend. Usual. Ashby has been lodged for QPR this season. I think Newcastle look at and sell him on. What a shame. What a shame. If he'd have stayed at West Ham, I really do think if he'd have stayed at West Ham, he might have done something. But there you go. What a shame. Anthony, why tear up Ings' contract when he soon becomes a free agent? Because it will save us £4 or £5 million in salaries. Colin, good morning to you, mate. Everyone, we definitely need another striker. Right, let me run through. I'll just give you some updates on injuries and then I'll have to bid you farewell because I can't go to work, but I will be on later. Edson Alvarez, he got his first start on Wednesday against Bournemouth, but it's suggested that he should be absolutely fine for the Man City game. No injury concerns there. Just a bit of match sharpness that he needs to get. Crescencio Somerville, he came off with a slight knock, but understanding is that it won't be too serious. So he'll probably be back on the bench against Man City on Saturday. Jean-Claire Todibo, a lot of fans criticised him, but he's not match fit. I like what I saw for the first 20 odd minutes, but then he fell away a bit. But I think there's a good player there, and when he's up to complete match fitness, it's going to be interesting to see whether it's going to be either himself or Mavropanos taking that centre back spot alongside Kilman. But again, no injury concerns, just about fitness, and he'll be on the bench, I think, starting against Man City. Nicholas Fulkrug, apparently we were told there's a rumour that there's a striker has picked up an injury, and there was a suggestion that maybe it was Fulkrug that's why he came off. I think, again, a bit like Todibo, etc., it's all about match fitness, and that's why he was taken off as a precaution. But we do know Aaron Cresswell has got a hamstring injury. He's having his scan done in order to determine how serious that is. Of course, he wouldn't be starting against Man City, but that might leave us a little bit light on the left-hand side should Emerson get injured. But we've seen that Wan-Bissaka was still our best player when he was out on the left-hand side against Bournemouth. So, transfer updates, and then I'll see you all later. Maxwell Cornet. Our understanding is that Crystal Palace have also come in, but from what Sean said earlier on in the show, it looks like Southampton will win the race to sign him on loan with an option to buy, not an obligation to buy. Kurt Zouma, well, he took his medical, as Sean suggested. He didn't necessarily pass it, but it looks good enough for Al Aroba to actually give him a contract. The final stages of the contract are being negotiated, and my understanding, it's all about how much money we're going to pay him. Sean didn't commit to how much of the money we're going to give him, subsidise his wages, but he suggested the other day it could be up to 50%, but it could be a little bit less than that. But one way or another, it looks like Kurt Zouma is a done deal and will be leaving West Ham United in this window. Now, of course, with Kurt Zouma, because the Saudi transfer window shuts a little bit later in September, they still could actually carry over after the 11 o'clock deadline today. But we think it'll be done before 11 o'clock. Same goes for Naif Agurd. Apparently, the only deal that's on the table at the moment is from Al Ittihad, another Saudi club, £4 million loan bid with apparently a £17 million purchase obligation to buy. It's all down to Naif Agurd because I don't think my understanding is he doesn't fancy any of the teams that are in for him. His agent is trying to persuade him to leave, to go to Saudi, but there are other clubs like Valencia, Real Sociedad, Porto, and the latest being Fiorentina. It looks as if Agurd thinks he's a Real Madrid player and doesn't fancy many of the clubs that have come in for him. Let's see. It's quite possible that Agurd could stay. But if he did stay, if he did go, it will be another loan bid. No deals in for Danny Ings at this moment in time. That may, of course, change. He did turn down a loan offer to go to he turned down a bid to go to Southampton permanently. We were going to subsidise his wages as well, but he turned that down. And apparently the only other teams that are interested are championship teams, Burnley or Leeds. But would he drop down the league? He may also end up staying at the club. Now, in order to generate funds, does that mean we'll have to sell James Ward-Prowse? Apparently, Southampton, as well as Nottingham Forest, are sniffing around him. But I think this will be a reluctant last-minute deal. But if it means us generating income to actually buy players, then that might happen. Giovanni Lo Celso is transfer nonsense. As I said earlier in the show, we don't even talk to Spurs, let alone negotiate with them to get a player in. He's in his last year of his contract. He's been his form has not been consistent. He's had loads of injuries as well. I don't think there's any truth in fact, there definitely is no truth in this transfer story. Carlos Soler, the deal could be in danger if we don't generate funds. Now, we could get him on loan to buy, of course, especially if we send several of our players out on loan. But I think, as we said earlier with Anton, if we do see Zouma, Agurd, Cornet all leaving, then that means we're going to need to bring in a defender as well, at the very least, in addition to Carlos Soler. One of them is going to have to be a purchase, and one of them is going to have to be a loan deal. The ideal would be to get Carlos Soler in on a permanent deal, and then bring in another player, probably Trevor Chalobah from Chelsea, on a loan option. So we'll see what happens there. Tammy Abraham, AC Milan are moving in for him. Even though we're still linked to him at this moment in time, he looks like he's going to AC Milan. And John Duran, minute opportunity to maybe still get him, because Aston Villa are apparently still looking for another striker to buy. And if they do, we could maybe, now another reason why we want to maybe keep our loan options open, try and buy Soler in order to go for a loan deal for John Duran. Right. a few more comments, and then I will see you all later. Ashby was silly. Absolutely agree. Good morning, everyone. We definitely need another striker. From Colin, Chiesa was a snip. Peter at 10 million for the Scousers. I totally agree with that. Ambrose, good morning to you. We can play Antonio at left back. We could. Nick, if anyone heard of my story, hospital for 11 years, I found out I'm moving into my bungalow on the 9th. Just wanted to share my mate. Congratulations to you. Wish you all the very, very best, mate. Seriously. And I hope it all goes well, Nick. Really, really do. Good luck to you, mates. Peter, Elvis has just been watching the detectives around West London. Jim, morning to you. Good morning to you, mate, as well. Jason, thanks for the much appreciated, Jason, and thank you for watching. Peter Stell, do your cats eat dry food or wet? They eat both, mate. And the other half buys some special shit. None of this bloody Tesco stuff. She spends more money on them than she spends on me, for God's sake. Yeah, they eat both. You can't give them one or the other. You've got to give them a combination of both. That much I know. Bill, Agerd obviously thinks he's higher quality than he is. Poundland or M&S. Colin, Agerd, I hear wants Champions League club. Well, he's staying then, isn't he? Sean, you can now pass when your heart's content. Fiorentina, Greg, have made a loan bid for Agerd, but it's whether he wants to go or not. Todibo or not Todibo? That is the question. I like him. I think he'll become really good. Anthony, I'll never forget selling Peters to Spurs and then sending us a drunk. Rest in peace to both. Howard, cheers still. Cheers to you, mate. I'll see you all later as well. Thank you very much, mate. I'll read that and I'll message you later when I've got a bit of time. Sean, Tammy Abraham coverage was all over Sky Italy last night. Didn't understand a word of what they were saying. Yuha. Team can loan 6 players in UK and 6 also in Europe. I think Chelsea can't loan out all their players. I don't know how many they've loaned out so far. On that, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. There's a bit of a gamble doing this show, but I'm glad you've all been watching. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, please do become subscribers of the channel because it costs nothing to subscribe and the content is always free. Thank you for watching. Also hit the like button. I'll be back in some guys later on in the day, whether that's me doing a show or whether it's being a guest on other networks. I'll probably do both. Probably do a combination of both. Have a good day. Don't get too stressed out. No need. We've done our main bulk of our business. I'll see you all very soon.